me out in that garage. And I guess the stuff that stuck was more about life than fixing cars.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's a common adage we hear in the corporate world to keep processes moving. But for tinkerers, taking apart something that isn't broken is all part of the fun. They want to see how everything works when it ain't broke, so they'll be able to fix it or modify it later. Business owners and managers also need to be able to tinker with their own companies. TJ White, general manager of Tire Source of Fairlawn, Ohio, learned the value of tinkering from his father, Tom White, owner of Tire Source. And now, TJ is applying that love of learning how things work to their company, figuring out what's working well and seeing what could be done better in order to keep the family business flourishing. Can you tell us about your family's history in the industry and the business and how that, how you got into it as well?
Sure. Being in Akron, my grandpa was at Goodyear at one point, started there. Going to my dad, he started in the late 80s for Myers Tire Supply, and then he had a brief stint with Goodyear Commercial as well. And then in '91, he opened his first location in Medina, so the first Tire Source. And we have, I've been in it since birth then. So I started working when I was 16, and started in the back, changing oil, doing tires, etc. And I've kind of worked my way through as far as that goes. I took a brief stint. I went to college, got an accounting degree from the University of Akron, but I worked almost through that entire time period. And at this point, I've done almost every position that we've had. So it's been, that's how the business has gone, and so far so good.
All right. So, you mentioned that you've been in almost every position there that can be had. What are some of the lessons that you've learned as you've progressed through each of those positions?
Well, I really think that it's helpful, especially in my position now, is that you get to see it from every angle. So when you have an associate or someone who has a concern, you're really able to explain to them that you've been in their shoes, or you can see it from their angle. That has really helped what I'm doing now, and it's really helped be able to see it from every point of view. I really try and see it through other people's eyes when we're doing things, and we all try and see it through other people's eyes, and it makes for a pretty healthy work environment as far as that goes.
Absolutely. I think you're definitely, as a upcoming leader in the business, it behooves you to have worked from the ground up so that you can know what's going on, rather than, those leaders that come in and just start at the top. They don't really have much of an idea of how the sausage is made necessarily. Right. So you said you started at Tire Source at 16 years old. How has the business changed in all the time that you've been there?
Well, it's almost too many different ways to describe. I mean, as far as the vehicles, the machinery, the equipment, everything has changed. I'd say the culture is one thing that I've noticed a lot, and it's been for the better. We've adapted and developed. We've added personnel, and in good areas. We have really created a good work environment where we have very little turnover at all of our locations, and we all, even though we have 6 different spots, everyone coexists, commingles, which is very nice. And I think that just the overall change in where we're headed and what we're trying to do is we're trying to really be above, be the top of the line in our industry. And I think in the last few years, we've really kind of hit that on the head, and that's where we're headed. So it's changed a lot for the better. One of the things that I've always tried to work on is, for me personally, and as well as the shops, is be able to be as efficient as possible. Help get customers' cars in quickly, get them out quickly, and basically make the experience for the customer as easy as possible, but also for our employees and anyone working in the business. It's important to be able to get the job done as quickly as possible and have the right tools to do it. So I think putting those things in place is what describes efficient for me.
And so what does that look like at Tire Source? How do you optimize efficiency there?
Well, the one example I'll give is the efficiency of getting a customer's car into the building, from the process of them giving us their keys to checking them in, getting their information, the keys to, information to the back for the technician to get it pulled in, then having that process, the inspection process and everything streamlined, so everyone knows how to do it in the same order every single time, and it just makes for nothing to get missed, limits mistakes, and creates a seamless transition from for the customer to see.
So, to make sure that everyone's on the same page there, do you have like a manual that everyone has to read, or how do you make sure that everything happens the same way every time?
It all starts with good management. I mean, we rely heavily on our managers to be able to do that, and they've learned. Typically our managers come from within, and they've experienced it, and a lot of the times we like to take their advice as well and create it throughout. Each one of our stores is a little bit different, but they all find the path and pattern that works for them and their people, and that's what really gets it done.
And what's your favorite part of the job?
Well, it's kind of I have a lot of favorite parts actually, but in two ways. As far as work goes in general, on a day-to-day basis, I like the systems. I like putting things in place. I like trying to find a problem and solve it if we can upgrade a system that we have, and not always a physical system, but a process more or less that we have. And then along with that, I think the people. I have some of my best friends work with us. A lot of us have been there a long time together. We have a lot of fun talking, competing with each other. Stores will compete, and we really have a good time, and getting to see just some of the abilities and some of the changes that people have made from beginning to end, and as well as we've had some people retire recently, and just being able to have them work their career with us for the last 30 years. It's just a cool process to see.
That's awesome. And so now what would be, I guess, the pros and cons of working in a family business? I'll start with the cons.
I think the cons, the biggest con for me is the pressure, but the self-inflicted pressure, I think, more or less. I really don't get it too much from everyone else, but it's kind of that standard that you want to hold, or you want to maintain or be above. Really, you want to do better than before. But it's nice. My wife's actually involved in the business. My father's involved in the business, so it's made our relationships stronger, if anything. I mean, there are some tough times, but that's definitely one of the pros. And the one thing I like is we try and separate our work life and personal life, which isn't always easy to do, but...
I was gonna say, when you all work at the same place, I'm sure that gets mixed in at the dinner table more often than not.
It definitely can, but when it does, it's nice to have someone who, can actually really understand what you're going through or what's going on throughout the day, and it makes it easier.
Tell us a little bit about what you do outside of work. When you don't have to take care of your 11-month-old, when you don't have to, when you've just got a weekend, what do you like to do?
I like to be outside. I like to work on my yard. It's something I've always liked to do. And then I do golf. I'm not very good at it, but I do it. So it's a work in progress, but I enjoy golfing and spending time with my family, my wife and my son. Obviously, at this point, we have a lot of good times together.
Nice. Now, and I also hear you like to tinker, is that correct? Or?
I do like to tinker. Funny enough, I don't like to tinker on automobiles at all. I'm more of I get enough of that throughout the day, and I've had enough of that.
Understandable.
Right now I'm tinkering a lot. My wife and I just purchased a house, so we're tinkering in plumbing, electrical, flooring, painting, a little more. I'm getting a little over tinkered right now, but I think that On a normal day, we have some tractors and different small equipment. I like to tinker with that and just around the house projects for the most part.
Very cool. And so, how did that, were you always just a tinkerer, or, how did that develop?
Yeah, I grew up on, we had a little bit of a farm, no animals or anything, but it had a lot of property with tractors and being able to help around. My grandparents lived nearby with a garden and had a lot to do with that. And I think seeing my grandpa and dad working on stuff at a young age, it just kind of, you gain a pique and interest from it. And it just has always been, if there's something I can't fix or something I don't know a lot about, I like to, figure out a way to do it. YouTube helps a lot nowadays, but beforehand you were trying to figure out, figure it out on your own, but I enjoy it.
Okay. So now, what obstacles have you had to overcome in the past, growing up in this business?
Well, there's definitely some areas where I went away to school, I was in the business and trying to, I had some obstacles of deciding, obviously I knew from an early age, well, not obviously, but I knew from an early age that I wanted to do this. It's something I always saw my dad involved in. I got to go to work early ages and see what he did, and it was always something that intrigued me. So with that being said, it was, going to school and what degree to get and what would help me the most in the business was an obstacle, and then just determining what was the best path for the company as I progressed and he progressed and we progressed as a whole. I think that was definitely an obstacle for us. And our most current obstacle, we recently just opening a warehouse to stock some of our stores. It's kind of an overflow warehouse where it also has some offices, so we are moving out of what we did in the back of the stores where we were, had offices and such, where now we will be kind of at a remote location but still communicating with the stores, and just kind of figure out that whole system is our current obstacle that we're working on. But it's so far so good, and I think it's gonna make everyone stronger here in the end.
Excellent. And so, would it be safe to say, because you grew up in the business, because it's a family business, were there any times that perhaps you struggled with others looking at you like, did you really earn this position? Or, because you were working up through it, did that not really happen?
I don't think it happened internally, really, because most of the guys have seen or understood what we were doing, and they knew my work ethic. I always tried to outwork, the guy next to me, or work as hard as the guy next to me, or work with them. And I never really had that, which was good. Eventually at one point, people who trained me, I eventually did manage, which, I was concerned about that and did manage at a young age, and that concerned me. But for the most part, I got respect, and it's, I think you earn that by working with them and showing them, so that really eliminates that just jumping in and being in charge.
So speaking of challenges, every business owner has in their minds the most recent huge challenge, which was the pandemic. How did you guys, get Tire Source through that during a time when demand for auto maintenance was at an all-time low because driving was at an all-time low?
Yeah, so it was tough. The one thing is we were an essential business. Obviously, there were other essential businesses that needed their vehicles repaired. We do a lot of municipalities, police, fire, paramedics, etc. As far as they are always on the roads, and then we still had nurses and other essential workers that were bringing their cars in. Obviously, the car flow did dwindle quite a bit. It was able to give us an opportunity to continue to work on the cars. We had some customers who had been putting some stuff off because they needed their cars, get some of that stuff done, some of the bigger projects. But in a whole, we were able to clean up the stores a bit, stuff that you never really get time to do, and clean up our inventories, clean up some loose ends that just needed to be done, which was we were very productive during the time. And then one thing that Tire Source did, which I'm very, very proud to be a part of, is we we didn't lay anybody off. We didn't cut anyone's pay at all. We did end up cutting hours, but we did not. We were paying them as if they worked full days. If they'd been with us in the past, we went back a year and made sure they made the same or, relative in that same time span. And the few people that weren't with us for the last year, we kind of averaged their hours pre-pandemic, and that helped us keep everyone. The retention, I don't think anyone left during, I don't think anyone left shortly after, and I think a lot of them appreciated that. So that was, thanks to the PPP and some of the other assistance, we were able to do that, but it was obviously a tough time, but we did our best to make sure that our associates did not feel the effects of that as much as possible, and we also wanted them to get the time with their families during that as well.
Yeah. So please indulge me in my curiosity here. You mentioned earlier that you have like fleet and municipality contracts. So did you have to go out and source those? Do they just come to you? How does that work in getting those types of accounts?
It all leads back to having good people. I mean, obviously someone's got to walk in the door, or you have to have yourself in a situation, but what we try and do is make sure that we take care of them just like we take care of our customers. And in some cases we do, we're the police and fire and so on. It's more important to take care of them even faster and quicker and obviously with more care, and or as much care as possible. And we strive to make sure that everyone gets the best service, but our people really take a good care. They know it's important, and with that, it kind of figures itself out. It's word of mouth and so on. So it's a good spot to be in.
Excellent. All right. And so what do you see your professional legacy looking like?
Well, obviously my dad, Tom, started the business. I'm newly into my role of, say, upper management leadership. I've only been in this position for a little over a year now. Okay. And so there's a lot of future to still see what happens. I'm Tom Jr. and I do have a 11-month, almost a year-old son. He's Tommy, that's Tom the third. So there is some legacy there. We'll see what happens, but so far so good.
When you get into the family business, you often start from the bottom and work your way up. The same with any new employee. Knowing how each level of your business works is critical for figuring out how to fix issues and moving forward. For TJ, each position he had, from learning to service vehicles to understanding how to effectively communicate with customers and associates, shaped who he is today and taught him how to keep Tire Source from falling behind in an industry that is constantly changing. Join us on the next episode of Vehicle Care Rockstars to learn more about TJ's views on the tire industry and how it moves forward from here. All right, TJ, we're going to play a little game called B-Sides to get to know you better. I'm going to give you a series of choices and you tell us which ones you prefer. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, let's start with some general questions. Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Okay. City life or farm life?
Farm.
Okay. Change oil or tires?
Change tires.
Okay. Goodyear or Firestone?
Goodyear.
If you won season tickets with premium seating for the sport team of your choice, which would you choose?
Cleveland Browns.
Okay. Favorite player on the team?
Myles Garrett.
Okay. Soccer or golf?
Golf.
Okay. Dinner with Tiger Woods or LeBron James?
Tiger Woods.
What's your dream golfing destination?
Probably St. Andrews.
Okay. And what's your best golf score?
'84.
Okay. Now, this is Vehicle Care Rockstar, so let's move on to your musical taste.
Okay.
Rap or pop?
Probably rap.
Okay. Mike, formerly Mike Stud, or Eminem?
Mike.
New Kids on the Block or Hanson?
Hanson.
Country or rock?
Country.
Hootie and the Blowfish or Matchbox 20?
Hootie and the Blowfish.
Okay. Luke Combs or Morgan Wallen?
Morgan Wallen.
First concert you attended?
Hanson.
Last concert you attended?
Jelly Roll.
Best concert you attended?
Mike.
Okay. Well, TJ, you're a rock star. Thanks so much.
Thank you.